I'm Anil Kumar sharing with you a test problem from MHF4U Unit 7. So we have trigonometric equations to solve. You can copy this equation and then solve. Well, there is a mistake here in the solution. However, teacher has not overlooked but given the marks for the right answer. But I'd like you to actually understand that you should not be making such mistakes, and that is what I'm going to highlight in this particular video. Now, the question here is determine the solution to the equation cos x over sin 2x equals to 5 over 7 for x greater than equal to 0 and less than equals to 2 pi, accurate to 2 decimal places. Now, in such questions, what you should do is first write down the restriction. The restriction here is, remember, that denominator sine 2x cannot be 0. That is kind of important to understand. So when you solve and get your solution, you have to check all the values for extraneous roots and then write the final solution. Okay, so take care of that part. Now let's solve the question. So we have cos of x over sine 2x equals to 5 over 7. We can cross multiply. So 7 times cos x equals to 5 times sine 2x. So 7 cos x equals to 5 times, let's expand this, 2 sine x cos x. And then we'll bring all the terms together, right? So we have 7 cos x minus 5 times 2 is 10, 10 sine x cos x equals to 0. So we can now factor cos x. We have cos x and we get 7 minus 10 sine x equals to 0. Now from this equation we have two solutions. Now one is that cos x equals to 0. So one solution is that cos x equals to 0, right? And the other set of solution is 7 minus 10 sine x equals to 0. So these are two possible solutions, correct? So let's write them down and then analyze them. So one solution is cos x equals to 0 and the other one is 7 minus 10 sine x equals to 0. Now as you saw here, sine 2x is basically 2 times cos x. So let me write down this question as equal to cos x over 2 times sine x cos x. You see that part. So if cos x is 0, then denominator will be 0, right? So this solution is not valid since it will make the denominator 0. It is a part of restriction, correct? So we only have solution for the second factor, which is 7 minus 10 sine x, okay? So let's solve for this. So we have 10 sine x equals to 7, or sine x equals to 7 divided by 10, which is 0.7. Is it okay? Now for this we will definitely have two solutions. One of them will be in quadrant 1 since sine is positive, the other one in quadrant 2, right? Since applying the cost rule, we know that sine is positive in 1 and 2 quadrant, right? So we can now use calculator, and then let me just change the mode to radians 4. That's kind of important since we are working in radians. 0 to 2 pi is our domain, right? So now we have shift sine within brackets 0.7 bracket close equals to. So whatever we get is the acute angle. So we get x equals to sine inverse of 0.7, which is equals to 0.7753, correct? Well, we have to write our answer to 2 decimal places, so we can round this number to 0.78, right, radians. So that is one answer, and this is when you are in quadrant 1. So that is That is the first answer. So the second one will be pi minus this, right? So the other solution will be x equals to pi minus 0.7753, which is equal to how much? Let's do that. So we already have that number. I will take away pi from here, but write the positive value. So we get this as 2.366, which could be rounded to 7, right? So 2.37 is the other angle, right? Principal angle. So we have two answers here. The answers are 0.78 and 2.37 in radians, correct? Now remember, it is very, very important not to list the solutions for cos x equals to 0, right? That is to say, don't put pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2 in your solution set. I hope that is understood. Thank you and all the best.